as a human being, I crave knowledge. And not only do I crave knowledge, but I crave the experiences that I can gain with that knowledge. Understanding that something that you learn now could be proven false in the future is about adapting and being malleable in your environment and not being this pre-distinguished thought or have these pre-distinguished patterns that are no longer serving you. So, for example, of myself, because that's all I really know. So recently, not even recently, for like the last 2 years, I've been on a strict plant-based diet, avoiding all dairy, animal product, blah, blah, blah. Your vegan type attitude. And when you think about vegan as a concept, it's kind of restricting, and it's also this platform for experience that stops you from experiencing other things. And I try to stay open-minded as much as possible when it comes to anything. So when it came to my diet for so long, as soon as the concept of even thinking about eating animal products came into my, equation, I just immediately dismissed the thought. And it's not something I was interested in, not something I supported, not something I even saw a counter argument to. I was very one-sided to this. It's kind of like a religion almost. You kind of get put in this box and you want to stay in the box because, it's hard to break out of that pattern. And for me, for example, I've lived on this diet. I'm a growing boy. I got shit going on still. When I've lived on this pattern for so long, I've noticed my brain and my body change. And a lot of the ways for the better. I was living a shitty diet. I was eating processed food just out the ass. I just had no concept of health. And being a vegan kind of made me more self-aware of my thoughts and my patterns and what I was consuming especially, and the way it affected my environment. But it's almost like in that transition of being so self-aware, I was not able to actually, or it transitioned from being self-aware into a concept of this is right because I think it's right, and I kind of quit, assessing that entire situation because I'd already established this pattern of, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to live, yada, yada, yada. But recently, I have been feeling shitty, and I know why. It's because I've been lacking nutrients, and I've been, not even nutrients, I eat dense nutritional plants and all this shit. I really take care of myself. But when it came down to is that there are certain things that a human needs when it comes to diet that stem from animals, and especially if you can't take supplements, can't afford them, and you don't live in the right areas where abundance of raw, good fruit and blah, 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 and it's just hard to maintain a diet that's vegan or ethical or moral, whatever, that's also human. And it doesn't really make sense because, we've made it this far by learning and adapting through our environment, by learning to cook, by building fires, blah, blah, by learning how to fish, all these concepts that, that other animals don't do that make us separate from them. So you can't compare this natural modern human, or you can't compare the modern human to the human that first roamed the earth, because he's adapted and changed throughout the millennia or years or whatever. I'm going to take a coffee sip just to shut the fuck up. But it's knowing, and it's having confidence in yourself to make your own decisions, and having discipline. That's the main thing I learned from vegan is discipline and self-awareness of saying, yes, I feel like ass and I want to make a change. And that's even the concept of where I am now, where yesterday and the day before, I felt like shit, and I just know it was due to nutritional problems, and I've felt very passive, and I could tell that my hormones, especially sexual drives and things like that, your masculinity type attitude that a lot of people have, I just felt so disconnected from, and I just felt so different than a lot of other people, and that's fine. I'm glad to be different, but at the same time, I don't want to think of myself in any negative way, and I wasn't feeling good, and I understand that it's I'm not going to blame it all on this vegan diet, but I'm going to blame it on this mindset of I'm right, and in reality, I'm always learning and everybody's always learning, and it's just seeking this knowledge. So, like, it's adapting those patterns from the vegan attitude or whatever, and this is just one example because it's just relevant right now, of saying, I learned a lot about my health. I learned about how to study myself and my physicality, and I learned discipline to say no to a lot of things that are tempting, and I learned this ability to be adaptable in my environment, even though I saw it as wrong or conflictive, and I still do in a lot of ways. Processed food, red meat, blah, 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 all that shit. It's really not good for you in a lot of ways, but for me, when I ate that salmon yesterday, it's just so funny to hear myself say that. When I ate that salmon yesterday, I truly felt a relief, physically, as you're eating something, your body can't assimilate it and disintegrate it and blah, 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 and apply it immediately. It takes a long time to transition your physical diet and your microbiome into this thing that you're seeking or whatever. And for me, it was just this process of mentally having flexibility in the areas that I was so structured and rigid in, and I'm going to adapt those patterns for the rest of my life. When I have something that I think is truly right and truly, purposeful and meaningful, I'm going to see where the fucking faults are, so much easier. Not even easier, but I'm going to seek conflictive patterns that other counter arguments. I'm not going to put myself in a label, in a box, just for the concept, because plant-based diet, in a way, the way that it's perpetuated is kind of this religion type of group almost, where it's do this because it's right and you're not harming all these animals and blah, blah, blah. But you're harming yourself in the long run by not having your proper nutritional balance. So what's really, more important? Not even the selfishness, but because you are as above, so below. So what's really more important? The concept of you thinking that you're hurting something, or the concept of you knowing that you're hurting yourself? And, it's very easy to get misled and look at information that is falsified and just has agenda-oriented type of concepts and biased, and it's just easy to go down this spiral of somebody else's knowledge and then adapt it and say it's your own, but in reality you've been taught something through your environment. And so I just want to be able, in my future circumstances, be able to say, yes, I totally agree, and yes, I am going to follow this pattern, but I also, the best patterns also self-check themselves. So the best routines will always see where it can adapt, where it can improve, where there's room to grow, and it's not just so when it comes to robots, the best robots are ones that have, mechanisms that check and regulate their own system, so that you don't have a human interface that relies on people's responsibility, where this thing could actually just know when it's fucking up instead of you figuring it out over time. And that's where I'm gonna be like. I'm gonna be like that fucking robot. I'm gonna be like that. I'm gonna say, yeah, I understand that I have these processes and these ideas that I want to convey and live, especially and experience, but I also have to keep a complete open mind to all topics and all regards of argument. I can't just say, even with I just can't live in this, it's kind of like it's left and right, blah, blah, blah. You got to find this balance. For me, I can't live on the right and I can't live on the left. It's way too difficult. And I know it's all in the perception of the mind, but I have to stay malleable to my environment. I have to understand when I need to change, and especially when it comes to physicality, because I have my physical body. I know I'm not just that. I know that. But I have my physical body that I must maintain, that I must seek to remain healthy so that I can fucking maintain the healthy mind as well. As above, so below again. It starts, it starts within with the mindset of saying, yes, I'm ready to learn and not be biased and not have, and just, I'm ready to have my opinions, but I don't want to live strictly by my selfish desires. I want to also understand why other people think things and why possibly there are conflictions and, this transition of energy that I see as unbalanced. I want to understand why I see it that way and why others don't. I just want, I've been talking like fucking ridiculous on this video. I just love myself, and I really do, and I've had some recent experiences that have really made me pay attention and go more in tune with my thought patterns and the way that I physically feel. And so when I notice something that is, every day can't be the 4th of July fucking attitude. No, you can't always live in this eternal state of bliss. You gotta have a crash in the wave. But when I do have that crash in the wave, I want to understand why. I want to prevent that shit as much as possible. I don't want to live in a perpetual state of, this up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I want to go up as much as I can. I want to live happily. And the things that are really conflictive and problematic, I want them to actually be problematic, like something that, is kind of out of my hands or something. I want to learn patterns where I'm not stressing over shit I could change. Because if it's up to me, I could still fucking, add a zero and figure it out. I mean, I could still, the equation's never finished as long as my heart's still beating. So if I got turmoil inside, I got turmoil on the outside, it's up to me to understand why that entire conflict ensued in the first place and then try to figure out adaptive patterns to, overcome those obstacles so I can ride the wave smoothly and I don't get stuck in these depressive ruts, and I also don't get stuck in this conceited mindset, because they're polarizations, but in turn they're kind of the same. They kind of bring loneliness, they kind of bring sadness, because you're not able to actually integrate with your environment, and interaction brings satisfaction. Either way, fuck. just always be yourself no matter what. Don't live in a predistinguished pattern that is no longer serving you. So if you feel like you need to change, make a change, but always stay conscious and aware of the way that your change is going to affect others. So, if you start eating factory farm food, understand that your factory farm food is not actually contributing positively to anything other than maybe your physical self. Maybe, I don't even know. But what I'm going with that is the things that are normally easy and also accessible and widespread taught are not always wrong. And we don't live in this conspiracy always. Man, there's fucked up shit everywhere. There's so much shit going on. But the real problems are not often discussed. They're actually, suppressed, and we get all these problems as in just stupid shit. Did we land on the moon type shit? And it doesn't really reflectively matter as long as, the earth is flat. I mean, who the fuck actually, why does that even relatively matter if the earth's round, you're still in your human brain. If the earth's flat, you're still in your human brain. So that's the, those are the underlying conflicts of, it's like, why is there so much disagreement and name calling and labels when we could just say, I am Blaze and I'm ready to make a change if I need to. But if I don't feel like I need to, then why the fuck would I? Fucking YouTube.